I previously finished two profiles in the last five or in the last four pieces, in which I basically said that these players at their young age they've already established themselves as GOATs within the game. My first one that I did was Mike Trout because he was the younger one, and my one a couple pieces ago was Kawhi Leonard, and that's my first basketball one. And now I'm gonna get you with my first football one. I believe Aaron Donald, if he hung up the cleats right now, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I mean, I don't know what to say. I'll just show you what he did. Like, for real. Like, the Rams really got to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff as their quarterback. No disrespect to Jared Goff, but like second year or third year Jared Goff took that team to the Super Bowl, which should say something. Aaron Donald was a monster. But how you doing? It is July 16th, 2020 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I was going to do a profile on a player that I would consider a GOAT for me already. I'm going to look back and be like, bro, Aaron Donald was a monster. What are you talking about? Aaron Donald, I don't know if he's the most dynamic defensive end or like the defensive lineman. Definitely the defensive like tackle. Definitely the most dominant defensive tackle in my lifetime. But defensive lineman, I don't know. But he's like up there with like J.J. Watt. But like that's how good he is. So before I get into this, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Aaron Donald. So if you don't know him, he's a 29-year-old defensive tackle that plays for the LA Rams. He's 6'1" and 280. So if you imagine those dimensions, most defensive ends are about most professional defensive ends are about 6'4", 6'5". If you're talking about defensive line, and they're usually about 290, most defensive, or no, they're about like 250, 240, maybe 260. Defensive linemen are supposed to be about a little shorter than that, 6'3", 6'4", maybe 270, 280. Or no, like 260, like they're around that weight. But with the dimensions of Aaron Donald, of course, with his dimensions, I mean, he wasn't really highly recruited. But I mean, he had the production. People just weren't looking at him that much because he was 6'1". He wasn't tall. He eventually the best offer he had, or he eventually decided to commit to play college football at Pitt, where he grew up. He went to Pittsburgh. I assume they knew him, and he just wanted to go local. Of course, So while he's there, his first season, of course, he plays 13 games, 11 total tackles, 2 sacks. As a defensive lineman starting on an ACC, as a freshman starting on an ACC defensive line, that's still impressive. That's still very impressive for what he's doing. And of course, that season, the Pitt Panthers, they were 8-5 that season. They ended up playing in the BBVA Compass Bowl. They were a pretty good team that year. Aaron Donald's second year they were there as a sophomore. He played all 13 games. He finished with 16 tackles for loss, 11 sacks. I mean, he had 4 passes defended, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you understand this. So, defensive tackles are supposed to rack up tackles. So a normally good defensive tackle in a college season will get 47, which he did, and 60. They won't get 16 tackles for loss. And they won't, and defensive tackles won't get 11 sacks. That's a defensive ends stat. Defensive tackles usually clog the run game, and of course defensive ends, they stop the run game as well. But they're the guys that are usually designated to go after the pass, because usually on the inside with defensive tackles, you're usually double teamed in that situation, so you're not expected to sack the quarterback in the pocket. But Aaron Donald still somehow finds a way. So that's what he was doing, and that year with a 6-6 record, the Pitt Panthers would go on and lose in the BBVA Compass Bowl for this. That was the second year they were in the BBVA Compass Bowl, but they lost. But Aaron Donald's still kind of picking up a couple of the accolades here and there. He was at first. That was the first time he was named to the second team All Big East. So I mean, he was starting to get recognized. That he was a little more than his size. His third year, his junior year as a defensive lineman, he finished with 64 total tackles in the amount of games that he played. That's still mad impressive. 13 games. That's 5 tackles a game, which is more than a defensive tackle should get. 18.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks, which is less sacks than before, but he was stuffing the run game. And I mean, at that point, he was starting to be recognized by the Big East. At that point, he was named to the All Big East team, and that was the last time that Pitt was in it. That was the first time he was up first team all conference. He did make the All A's. So I mean, but he was named to the All Big East team. He was known as the best defensive tackle as a sophomore. His senior year, that's when Pitt moved to the ACC. In the 13 games he played, he finished with 59 total tackles, 28.5 tackles per loss, and 11 sacks for the second time in his 4-year career, which as a defensive tackle, you shouldn't be sacking. Like, defensive tackles aren't supposed to sack the quarterback more than 3 or 4 times in a season. He did it 11 times. That's incredible. And of course, that year they would go on with a 6-7 record yet again and lose in the BBVA Compass Bowl. They played in the BBVA Compass Bowl 3 years in a row. That's still kind of crazy to me. But Aaron Donald did he did enough. Of course, he was named to the All ACC team. He was a unanimous All American, won the Outland Trophy, the Lombardi Award, the Chuck Benedrick Award, the Bronco Nagurski Award, ACC Defensive Player of the Year. So of course, he was recognized for the incredible year that he had at Pittsburgh. And at this point, he was on the national stage, and people were starting to just see who this guy was. So I think it's fair to say he did enough at Pittsburgh to get himself drafted in the first round. He was picked number 13 overall, picked 13th overall in the 2014 NFL draft by the then St. Louis Rams. And immediately, this dude would go off and he would just have a season unlike any other. This is a legendary career before he gets to the NFL, and this is part of the reason I have this dude in my GO conference. Like in his 1 year where he really got to shine in the ACC, playing in a big conference, they recognized him as the best defensive player in that conference, and a very good ACC. And this is when the ACC had more than Clemson. So going on to that, his first year in St. Louis. I'm trying to remember. The first year in 2014, that was when the Rams finished 6-10. But Aaron Donald that season, he ended up starting 12 of the 16 games he played. He finished with 9 sacks and 48 combined tackles, 18 for loss. But basically, he finished winning the Defensive Rookie of the Year award in 2014. He was recognized as the best new incoming defensive player, especially defensive tackle in football. Like, this dude was here to wreak havoc. This was his age 23 season. And of course, his age 24 season in 2015, he ended up playing all 16 games as he finished with 11 sacks. Of course, 69 combined tackles, 22 for loss, and 11 sacks as a 24-year-old defensive tackle. Remember, defensive tackles don't get 10 sacks in a season. They're usually double-teamed in the run and in the pass. There's no way in the world they should get to the quarterback 10 times in a season against professional linemen. But of course he did. And 2015, the Rams ended up going 7-9. That was the year that Todd Gurley won the offensive Rookie of the Year. But Aaron Donald went off kind of on his own. This year, he was named a Pro Bowl for the second time because, of course, he was a Pro Bowler his rookie season after a season like that. And after his second year, after his age 24 season in the league, he was already a Pro Bowler. He was named to the NFL First Team All-Pro. And this is his second year. This is before the Rams even moved to LA. And of course, that season they moved to LA. They have Hard Knocks. It was all fun. I remember when they moved out there, I saw one of their games. This is the season before Hard Knocks. This is when the Rams were at their absolute worst in their first season in LA. So that season, he ended up starting all 16 games. He finished with 47 combined tackles, 17 for loss, 8 sacks, which isn't like his season before. But, that season the Rams finished 4-12. Not all was going well. Jeff Fisher, they had a whole coaching change between Jeff Fisher and John Fassel before they hired Sean McVay. This is probably his year before the Rams really started becoming really good. And he was still a Pro Bowler, and he was named to the first team All-Pro. Like, we're still forgetting that this is his third year in the league and he's already a two-time, he's already recognized as the best defensive tackle in football for the second year. That's incredible. His next year in 2017 is probably his, no, it's probably his second biggest season, but he played 14, he started in 14 of the games he played. He finished with 41 combined tackles, 15 tackles for a loss, 11 sacks, and this is under Sean McVay's first season with the Rams when they went 11-5, and they ended up losing in the wild card to the Falcons. But Sean McVay won Coach of the Year. This year, Aaron Donald won. This is when he won his first Defensive Player of the Year, which in his age 26 season is a pretty significant flex, considering I'm considering a lot of programs are considering not signing him as a high school prospect due to his size. He got to the NFL and was proven for the second year in a row that he is the best defensive tackle in all of, or for the third. And no, I mean he keeps on going. In his 2018 season, which might go down as Aaron Donald's most OP season that there ever was. This is the year that the Rams made the Super Bowl, by the way, with a 13-3 record. They beat the Cowboys in the first round. They beat the Saints because the Saints choked in the playoffs again, and they lost to the Patriots 13-3. Failed the Patriots offense to 3, but still during that season, Aaron Donald, he started all 16 of the games he played. Naturally, he finished with 59 combined tackles. 25 of them were tackles for losses. He finished with 20 and a half sacks as a defensive tackle. Defensive tackles shouldn't be finishing the season like Hall of Fame defensive tackles will be lucky if they finish the season with 5 or 6 defensive or sacks on the season. Aaron Donald finished with 20.5 in a 16-game season. He averaged more than 1 sack a game as a defensive tackle. That should scream first ballot Hall of Fame as I read it off my lips. And he helped lead that team to the Super Bowl. When I look back, Aaron, and this is the fourth time in a row he's been all first team all defensive tackle. He's the best in his 5th year in the league. He's proved that he's the best defensive tackle player for the 4th year in a row. And this last season with the Rams, even in the fall off year that they had in his age 28 season, the 2019 season, they finished 9-7, didn't make the playoffs. This year, Aaron Donald starts all the games he plays. He has 48 total tackles. He leads the league in tackles for losses for the second straight season. He has 20 tackles for losses. He finishes with 12 and a half sacks on the season, and he had a safety. I mean, the dude had a safety. The Rams completely missed the playoffs that year, but Aaron Donald, this is where Aaron Donald currently stands right now. He's a defensive tackle on a Rams team that's kind of falling overboard, and it looks like, I think he signed that contract deal, but I'm not 100% sure he stays in LA all his life. If he does, good for him. I'm really proud. I truly believe he deserves to do so. But I'm saying, no, I like the position that he's in right now. If you're asking me if I'm gonna watch Aaron Donald play this year, of course I'm gonna watch Aaron Donald play this year. He's Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is greatness personified on a football field. He has he has the most impressive resume. I believe he's the youngest GOAT out of all the NFL players because he's earned that resume. And as of right now, he's the youngest out of all of them. He's earned his Hall of Fame status, especially with the season where he got the Rams to the Super Bowl, his age 27 season. He has back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards. And I mean, there are a lot of Hall of Famers there are a lot of NFL Hall of Famers that don't have back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. Aaron Donald's still going. He has a lot more to go. So I mean, I'm really here to watch him. And if you get a chance, check out my boy Aaron Donald. He wears 99 for the Los Angeles Rams. And if you really get a chance to just watch this dude play, watch him play on the line, ask yourself, should a defensive tackle, with all the people blocking him, should a defensive tackle ever get into a situation where he averages more than 1 sack a game in a regular season?